questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on infinity diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Hello everyone. Right, this is a bit of a landmark because this is the first stream I've ever actually set up all on my own. So I think shout out to me. And yeah, you're stuck with me for the next 10-20 minutes before I go to work. So today, obviously, we had Oliver Glasner's press conference ahead of Luton's the game against Luton tomorrow at 3 p.m. GMT. I think well, I've got a few things to run through. I'm going to try something a little bit different and just see if this works. So if it don't work, I'm sorry, but let's see. So does that? Aha, yeah. So it does work. Oh, that didn't work. Right, I'll do it like that so you can just see. So that's the these are just the notes I took when I was watching the press conference earlier, and that's available on Crystal Palace's website if you want to have a look yourself. But anyways, without further ado, I'm just going to go through comments first, and I'll try to go through those as often as I can, just so I can get your input and just we can get a good conversation going in the next 10-20 minutes. So big up Damo, thanks for tuning in. Big up SE, big up Luke, and big up Bowen. Thank you all for tuning in. Got 14 people watching at the moment, which is excellent. Like I say, if you want to comment on anything I talk about, please do, and I'll make sure I look at the comments and I'll put it on the screen. So first things first, I'll go through it question by question. This is literally everything that was asked and said, so you have full transparency with me. First question was about the first South Asian referee to referee in the Premier League. He was asked about what he thought about it. He said it's a great statement for the Premier League, and that he's happy because he thinks we should live in a more inclusive world. I agree. As someone of part South Asian descent, I do think South Asians are pretty underrepresented in football, considering how many South Asian people there are in the UK. I think there's a few reasons for that. Some are perhaps some stereotypes about South Asians themselves. Others are perhaps more cultural things, with football not really seen as like a proper career in that sense. So I think there's a lot of things there's no one single factor, I don't think. But obviously it's a good thing. And at the end of the day, as long as he's a good referee, then that's all we're going to ask for. And if he continues to be a good referee, and I hope we see more of him reffing in the Premier League, which I think at times this season, despite what we say is being the best league in the world or one of the best leagues in the world, we definitely I don't think we have necessarily the best referees in the world. So right, next one. What were you expecting from Luton? So he said they're a very physical team, man-to-man defensively. They'll participate in a lot of duels, and they're very direct. And this one here that I'm just going to highlight, 35% of goals from set pieces. Obviously, we know that we struggle with set pieces. That said, in the 3 games since Roy's left, we've only conceded. Yeah, we did concede a goal against Everton. That I believe was a set piece. So we've only conceded once, which is good to begin with. I don't know if anyone saw it, but I did on Twitter. I did like some interesting goals that we could perhaps do for the end of the season. One of those was actually trying to, between now and then, be around about middle for conceding goals at set pieces, and so far so good. He said that he's also very happy with the training this week. Players are very focused, which is obviously something that I guess kind of ties into another one of our problems about conceding goals late, which we'll come on to that in a minute. But but obviously it's all positive stuff. Honestly, I never really paid too much attention to Roy's pressers, so I can't really compare too much. But I'm very happy to see a very positive outlook, praising the players before we've even kicked a ball, and just keeping them in the right frame of mind, I think. Last minute goals. He said, I thought this was quite a good stat. Don't trust a statistic that you didn't make. So obviously this is something that he wants to completely avoid. It's something that I think we've had a problem with, well, certainly obviously under Roy this season. At the moment, we actually have the worst, in terms of conceding goals in the last 15 minutes, we're the worst in the league, like by far. Up to 76th minute onwards, we rank the worst in the league by only 1 goal behind Sheffield United. But if you do it to the last 10 minutes, so 80 minutes onwards, then we are the worst in the league by far. Like, we've conceded something like 19 goals. Sheffield United are the second worst team, and they've conceded 13 goals. So you can see the problem there. He also highlighted the fact that we scored 3 late goals against Burnley. And to be fair, I agree. I think he made some very proactive subs that game. I thought the game was getting into a more like frustrating kind of phase. And I think he made those subs at the right time, and he made the right subs. Did he make the right ones against Spurs? That's debatable, but hopefully we'll see more of the former this time. Anything Glasser's noticed about late goals? So they've recognised the issues and they're working on them. He didn't really want to go too much into it, I presume, because obviously you don't really want to tell the world your tactics, or what you're trying to do to get better. He talks about fitness, bringing fitness back after injury. So he seems like he actually specifically mentioned that. So that's obviously something that he's very focused on. And then he got asked, does he think more minutes is the cause for all these injuries? Well, he said, and I agree with him, it's a new situation for players. Obviously, this is something that is brand new. This concept started in the World Cup and has now been implemented pretty much everywhere. And I watched the Brazilian league, and that starts in April. Obviously, we start in the August. They started in April, and they also were implementing that straight after the World Cup, pretty much. And I believe that was the same for all other leagues that start in that sort of time as well. So that's obviously something that has been carried over, is now implemented pretty much worldwide. And yeah, a lot of teams are struggling with injuries this season. Like Newcastle have been hit quite badly. We've obviously been hit quite badly. But obviously, outside the Premier League, a lot of teams have been hit quite badly as well. Because you think about it, before most teams were looking at playing 60 minutes or something like that. I think the ball's on the pitch for 65 minutes. Now it's theoretically on the pitch for 90 minutes. So that's an extra, nearly an extra 50% worth of playing. So that's the issue there. But I did like this little comment that he made. He said, we cannot cry every day about too many games. So Jurgen Klopp, if you're watching, take a leaf out of his book. Eze. Is Eze fit? Eze's fit. He said the goal's given him confidence. Obviously, I think he was probably not 100% match fit when he played against Spurs. But that goal was doing wonders. I don't think he had the greatest game, to be honest. But that goal obviously was doing wonders. Very well worked free kick as well. Good set piece. And he'll play more minutes this game as long as nothing happens. Only problem we've had is Matthias França is missing due to a groin injury. He didn't mention the severity of it or anything like that. But hopefully it's just a small thing and he'll be back after. Obviously, we got about 3 weeks, I think, after this game. So hopefully he'll be back for the following game. Schlupp is back. Now, I know a lot of people have complained about Schlupp this season, but I think he would be okay at left wing back. And I actually think he'd be okay in one of the forward positions. Because I do think Schlupp, when he's running forwards, is actually pretty decent. It's just when, you're asking him to hold the ball up, provide width and stuff like that, it don't really work. But besides that, there are no other concerns. Right, I'll continue in a minute. I just want to say big up to Tim. So thank you for tuning in as always, Tim. And yeah, so after this, we've got Dougie Freedman to Man U. So this is obviously a really big talking point this week. And his comments sounded quite positive for us, actually. He says that Dougie is a great person, gives him evidence that he was right to take this job. That's not word for word. I've just summarised that, but that's effectively what he said. Like I say, if you want to watch it back, it's free on Palace's web. It's free on our website. So say our website, Palace's website. Not we don't. I don't think. Yeah. Anyway, he said they haven't spoken about next year's squad yet, but he did say he is expecting to next week. So on the one hand, you could say that's a good sign for Dougie staying because, you know, why would that happen? But then I suppose he is still, whilst he's still with us, he is still within his remit to still plan for the future, whether he's here or not. And I'm sure if anyone's ever left a job, rarely you would leave it with nothing left. Like you would explain to someone what's going on, so then they can then carry on whatever you were doing. But having said that, this isn't obviously to do with the press conference, but in concurrence to other stories that have come out, like the Independent mentioned briefly that apparently United were moving away from Dougie. I don't know if maybe they were using Dougie as a way to perhaps, whether they are actually interested in him or not, or whether they're using him as like a way to use leverage to get Wilcox from Southampton. So I don't know. We'll see in the coming weeks, obviously. He was asked if there was any surprises in the PL. He didn't really say there were any. And then he was asked about Luton's fairy tale story, obviously coming from non-league to the Premier League in the space for about 8 seasons, I think. He said they completely deserve it. But obviously we want the 3 points. So he's not going to compromise anywhere there if that was ever a worry. Points. So he's asked about every team needing points. Obviously Luton are in need of points to get themselves out of the relegation zone, but he pointed out that every team needs points. Luton are no different. Every team's got their own specific circumstances. Like if you're in the top 10 at the moment, you're probably going to be wanting to push for Europe. If you're in the top 4, you probably, top 3 at the moment, I suppose, you're looking to move into or try and win the title. And then if you're in that bottom half, you're just trying to avert relegation, really. I don't think there's any teams in the bottom half that you probably say don't have one eye on that relegation. I mean, maybe like Fulham are fine, perhaps Bournemouth are fine, but certainly the other, 6 teams, us, Forest, Everton, Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United are all in that kind of area to not get relegated effectively. And then he also talks about finding spaces in between Luton's pressure. So obviously, if you haven't watched Tact Eagle, watch it. It's obviously it's on YouTube. Me and JC went over it on Wednesday, and Luton are a very intense team when it comes to their defence. And so he's talking about evading that pressure to score goals, which obviously under Roy, the feeling I got was it was more to not lose, whereas Glasner's very much positive and is looking to win. So, and you know what, without going off piece too much, I think the fact that mentality change, I think, is the biggest thing, because you think about it, like even when we played Burnley, okay, yeah, I know Burnley are bad and whatever, but my opinion was that if we had Roy still in charge, I think we would have struggled against Burnley. I think we probably still would have won, but I don't think we would have played very well. And I feel like Burnley would have pushed us right to the end, whereas with Glasner, it was pretty much done within 75 minutes. And I think that mentality change, even with all the players still injured, I think is such a key thing. Looking to win rather than just to avoid losing. I mean, I think we're moving into an age where a lot of managers are tending to think like that now, where it's more about attacking rather than defending. And I think the reason for that is, like, if you think about it, if you draw every single game, that's the same as winning only 1 in every 3 games. So I think if you go for it, it's more high risk, but I think it's got a high reward to it. Positions in the league. So he said to accept the reality of position in the league. He didn't really, from what he said, doesn't really believe in luck. He said if you're 13th, you deserve to be 13th. There's none of this, oh, you know, you perhaps deserve to win more games than you should have. And there's no real such thing with luck. And I think, to be fair, that could actually be applied to us in the recent past. Like, I think a lot of people could argue that Vieira's first season, we probably should have finished a lot higher than 12th. But having said that, in that particular season, we had a lot of issues with conceding important goals late. We didn't actually concede that many late goals, actually, strangely enough, because I looked at it the other day. But we conceded very important goals. We also conceded a lot of sloppy goals from corners. So in that sense, like, I actually agree with what Glaston's saying. I think if you are 12th, you're 12th. Obviously, there might be the odd occasion where, yeah, something mad does happen. But, you know, if you're 12th, you're 12th. If you're 7th, you're 7th, and so on and so forth. And then we got the long break. Is it an opportunity? He says it's unusual to have a break in this this time of year for that long. Obviously, we have the midwinter break, the winter break. But this, yeah, is odd for us because obviously Newcastle game has been moved, and then we have the international break. But if I'm right in saying, then the next game after Luton will be the 30th. And I know they were talking about OLI'S. He didn't mention this in his press conference, but I know there was talk about OLI'S being back for the beginning of April. So theoretically, he could only be back in 2 games' time after Luton. And then I don't know. I can't remember when Mark's back. I know they were talking about Sheck being back as well, but I think you'd rather just give him the preseason. We got 2 very, very good midfielders at the moment. Obviously, we could do a bit more depth, but I'd rather him be ready to come back rather than a bit too soon, just for the sake of a game. He said, oh yeah, and of course we're going to play Bodo Glimt in Marbella, I believe, next week on the 14th. Only Palace could organise a really nice friendly in a really nice place. I'm sure a lot of people would have been down to go to about a week in advance. So there you go. I think Bodo Glimt are another good team to play against. They're quite, if people don't know who they are, I can't remember what leagues they play in. I think are they Danish or are they Norwegian? I can't remember, but they're in one of those leagues. I'm fairly sure they're Norwegian. Are they Danish? I can't remember. But they're very much like what you consider like a progressive team. Knutsen, who's their manager, is a very, very good manager, and he's probably an up-and-coming manager as well. Well, I say up-and-coming, he's getting on a bit, but he's kind of like one of those managers who, if you took a risk, he'd probably actually be all right in the Premier League, I think. And yeah, they've got a very good youth system at Bodo Glimt as well. So I think it's good to see us building ties with these kind of teams, just so we can expand our scouting networks and expand knowledge, really. So yeah, Bodo Glimt, I'm fairly sure they beat someone like 7-0. I'm fairly sure not that long ago. Can't remember who it was, but they've played European football as well. So, like I said, they're a good team to be building these kind of relationships with. Right, and so that's that. Don't know how to make myself smaller. Yeah. Can I make myself smaller? New. Just wanted you to see a beautiful Ollie Glasner in the background. There you go. Right, so it's going through some comments, and then we can maybe have a little further discussion, and then say I've got to go work, unfortunately, in about 10-15 minutes. So cool. Right, big up Monty. Thanks for tuning in. Yep, it definitely will be a tough game. Like I said, if anyone wants to watch a tactical breakdown, watch mine and JC's breakdown on Wednesday. Just go onto the channel and it should be there somewhere. They are a very good team. They cross the ball a lot. Like they actually have the most crosses in the league, despite only completing the second fewest. Attempting the second fewest passes at all in the league. So you think about it. I think can't remember how we worked it out, but I think it was like 15% of all their passes at crosses. Their left-hand side is particularly dangerous with Doty. Thankfully, Amari Bell's injured, So because they like to overload, without going too much into it, they like to overload the certain sides of the pitch using their centre backs to roam forward. And Amari Bell is very good at doing that. He's like a left back. But yeah, no, they are a very difficult team. I think they got the third most goals from corners this season as well, joint third most. Got 8 goals from corners this season. So yeah, it will be a tough game. But I am confident. Big up, Chairman. Thanks for tuning in as always. I'm not rich, no. I'm stepping in today, and like I said, this is the first time I've ever set up a stream on my own. So hope it's gone well. And yes, big up, JC. Hope Dougie stays. I heard that Sax rated him, which had me worried. I think Dougie's really good, and I think some people say like, oh well, but that's what you expect of a sporting director. I disagree actually. I think he's demonstrated that he's very good at specifically selecting players, in my opinion. Like he effectively built our 12-13 squad that got us promoted. And thereafter a lot of them still stayed when we were in the Premier League. So I don't know how you can not say he's good when he's already done that. And also, in my opinion, since he's come back, I don't think he has had an expensive flop in the Premier League. So obviously, like, yes, Max Meyer was a flop, but I don't think he was an expensive flop, depending on whether you believe the amount of money that he was supposedly on. I mean, the closest ones you really have are Eddie and Mateta, but Eddie's our top goal scorer this season, I think. And Mateta, I think, has actually played quite well since the turn of the year. So I wouldn't say necessarily they're flops. Other players were either before his time or just weren't that expensive. Yeah, those ones. Arsenal away, Brighton at home, Brentford, both games. Like, when you think about it, it's actually crazy. If we didn't concede that last-minute goal against Brighton, we would have actually finished above them that season. So, and obviously, people like to say how good they are. Well, had that margin just been slightly different on that occasion, we would have been above them. But like Glasner said, you are where you are in the table, and that was a problem that we had that we didn't necessarily deal with. Be up, Sean. Hope you're good. Thanks for tuning in. If we press them from the front, I actually agree. I think if we're quite an intelligent pressing team, and yeah, I agree. If we do that, I think we can stifle them in terms of Ross Barkley, who's going to be a very key player in the middle. If we can just have him so he's facing his own goal, I think that'd be very good. And potentially we could nick the ball off them and then make our own chances. So I think with a press, I think we'll just be hoping to make them kick it long rather than winning the ball up there, I think. But like I said, we'll see. Good question. I don't know, but it would not surprise me. Because he does do a lot of crosses. And Luton obviously play on that strength by having players who are very, very good in the air in the middle, like Cauley Woodrow, Carlton Morris. Adebayo's injured, which is good for us. But yeah, you know, putting the ball in there and is obviously their thing. And when you couple that with players good in the air, you're going to make a lot of chances. So it wouldn't surprise me if Doherty is Doherty's actually a player. If they go down, I wouldn't mind us trying to get, because I genuinely think he's a really good player. In terms of Luton, I would say he's probably, after Barkley, I'd probably say he's their best player, actually. Perhaps. But yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know these players. Obviously, looking at those descriptions there, one's a 6'4", 20-year-old centre back. That's something that we're gonna need. Glasner's got very good knowledge of the Austrian league as well. Obviously, him being Austrian himself and is used to managing it as well. Obviously, we need more centre backs because now we play with 3 at the back. But other than that, I don't know too much about him. And obviously, a fast number 10, that's another position that we're looking to need. So I'm glad that we're targeting positions that we are going to need. So yeah, but we'll see. Maybe I'll do a scout thread on them at some point. Depends on whether I can get footage though. Big up Earth, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Patrick, Palace will win 2-1. We will have a limited bench, so we'll need to score early. Yeah, I agree. I'm fairly sure in his press conference actually, he said that Luton score quite a lot of goals late. Let me just double check that. Goals by time. Yeah. So goals scored by time. Luton have scored 14 goals in the last 15 minutes of the game, from 76 minutes onwards, which is Liverpool scored 24. That's crazy. That is the 3rd best in the league from what I can see. 3rd best in the league. So yeah, so we will need to try to go as quickly as we can, guns blazing into the game to try and put ourselves into it and put ourselves up, because I think that they will score late. I don't think there's any way of getting around that really. I predicted 4-2 before on Tact Eagle, and I'm going to stick with that. But yeah, let's say if there's any more comments, please chuck them in. If there's any other discussion you want to talk about, you got me for another 5 minutes before I got to go work. If not, I'll just I'll end the stream there. Patrick's put, sadly we may see Will Hughes in the game. Yeah, I hope not. I mean, to be honest, I think based on Ahamada, I think playing well against Burnley, I wonder if he kind of put on Hughes just to not see what he could do. But the thing is with Hughes, in my opinion, I think his mobility is just not there anymore. I don't know if it was there at all ever really, but I think because we conceded the goal in such a fashion at such a critical time, I think that's why Hughes kind of played bad, because I think if we're just kind of sitting and absorbing pressure and he's just kind of there just to, get rid of the ball when we need to, or, put in a tackle when we need to, I think he's fine then. But I think because of the way we conceded the goal, and then Spurs are straight onto us straight away, like as soon as we conceded, I think that played against his weaknesses, and I think that's why he was kind of not very good. So I can see why he brought him on, but you could make the argument that he probably should have brought on Ahamada instead. But at least Ahamada is available for next week. Sorry, on Saturday. Manager's very intelligent, so he'll set us up for a win. Yeah, I completely agree. I think he is. I think he does adapt a little bit to each team he plays. He's very aware. On the press conference, it came across that he was very aware of how Luton play. So, yeah, he's definitely clued up. And also as well, I'm fairly sure he goes to games as well. So, like, if there's a midweek game that we're not playing, he'll go and watch that team if we're playing them soon. No, he didn't. He kept that pretty closed. I think, to be honest, I think it was very much a Roy thing to tell the press all the time about how long players were going to be out for. He didn't say how long, but I mean, we got a 3-week gap, so hopefully he'll be back for the Forest game, but we'll see. And yeah, it's a groin problem, but it's Glasser didn't elaborate on anything more than that. He did say Schlupp is back though, so big plus for Decore. I agree. I think it depends when they're trying to get him back for. I think if he's just coming back for the last game of the season, then you like. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those. I think obviously it just depends on where we are at that time. I think Wharton and Lerma have been very good in the middle so far. Obviously, depth is a big problem for us. So depends when he's back. So I think they say he'll be back 3 weeks earlier than previously thought. So, I mean, I don't know when that was, but yeah, no, I'm glad to hear it. So, and obviously, if he's making it quicker, hopefully it means that he'll get a full preseason under his belt as well. And yeah, good to hear about Decore. We need the points now. Yeah, I agree. I mean, just before I sign off, then I'll just have a quick look at the table. I mean, we're 14th on 28 points. Oh, I forgot Brentford are below us. Yeah, we're on 28 points. So if we beat Luton, who are obviously 8 points behind us, we're 11 points clear. 11 points clear going into the final. Well, they've got a game in hand, I suppose, against Bournemouth. But the final 10 games of the season, you know, they're going to need to win 4 games to overtake us. And we would have to lose every single one, which I can't see us doing that, to be honest, at this stage. So that's that. Right. Thank you all very much for watching, everyone. This has been Ollie Glaston's presser for the Luton game tomorrow. And yeah, so wherever you're watching it, I hope you enjoy the game tomorrow. And all I can say is up the Palace. He goes. Whoops. And straight.